Hey y'all. Thank you so much for chiming in. We hope that you guys are in here tonight with us. We are super excited to have you on. What's up, Timothy Fitzgerald? Thank you so much for tuning in. We're about to start this show, so let's hit it.
Love and happiness.
Hey y'all, we're back. Thank you so much for tuning in on tonight. We hope that you guys are letting us know that you're here. Please chime in and let us know where you're from. Let us know what you're repping. What's up, Timothy? Again, thank you so much, brother, for tuning in. We are so excited to have you here. Y'all, I'm wearing my red tonight. It's Love Month. It's Heart Health Month. We just excited to be here on tonight. All right, y'all, we're going to really get started because I don't want to waste any time. We have a packed house, and I want to make sure that we have enough time to get through everything tonight because we're going to move some mountains and we're going to break those barriers. What's up, Justin? Thank you so much for always supporting. You are here for another great show, and that is what you are going to get on tonight. So before we get started, I actually just want to say something real quick. Text talk. We want you to text talk to receive updates, motivational things. Text TLK 20 to 888-518-4220. 888-518-4220. Also, we want you to follow us on Limitless Possibilities. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on YouTube. These are the ways that you can reach us. Please, y'all, follow us. Follow us. All right, y'all. So we're really ready about to get started. But before we do, I just want to take a pause for the cause and just say again that this is February. This is the month that we celebrate love all month. And this is also the month that we celebrate Heart Health Awareness Month. We want to thank and shout out everyone who has gone through complications, who has had some issues, but remember to get your exercise, to eat right, to breathe right, rest, stay stress-free, protect your heart, protect our heart. And on top of that, we want you guys to love, Love. All right, so again, it's also Black History Month, y'all. February is Black History Month. And I'm super excited to celebrate Black History Month, not only in February, but we should celebrate it all year long. So it's not just designated for February, although that's how we celebrate it, but we also should celebrate it each and every day that we rise. All right, there's a quote that I want to bring onto the screen right now. And that quote is, success is to be measured not so much by the position that one has reached in life as by the obstacles which he has overcome while trying to succeed. Success is to be measured not so much by the position that one has reached in life as by the obstacles which he or she has overcome while trying to succeed. This is a dynamic quote. We're going to talk about some potential obstacles, but we also going to talk about tonight how can we overcome them. So again, I wanted to get off the screens and bring on my dynamic guests. We have some powerhouse individuals in the house on tonight, and I cannot wait to get into this discussion. So without further ado, I want to bring on my first guest, but I also want to give y'all a brief introduction. Tonight, we're going to be discussing love them or leave them alone, focusing on y'all healthy and toxic relationships and how we can succeed in getting rid of that toxic and keeping it love shining and grinding and moving and grooving. So, this is what we're talking about, y'all. We're going to be talking about love them or leave them alone. If you hear something that you like, we want you to drop some hashtags. Hashtag vision. Hashtag I love me. Hashtag love them or leave them alone. My old school people would know what that song is about. Hashtag leave them alone. Hashtag love them. And lastly, hashtag better me. It's nothing like being a better person. We all make mistakes. No one is perfect, but it's all about making those improvements. All right. During these unprecedented times, everybody has gone through some relationship problems. Everyone has had some issues. Everyone has had some challenges. But again, we're going to jump right into this discussion and tell you guys how to move those mountains and break those barriers. The theme of the night is love. LOVE. All right, my first guest that I want to bring on tonight, she is a great young lady. You have seen her before on the show, and I had to bring her back because she dropped some knowledge when we had our last show. So I want to bring on Miss Shaditra Robinson. What's up, Shaditra?
Hey Thomas, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
I can't complain.
You looking all good and stuff.
Thank you.
You ready for tonight?
I am. I'm excited.
All right, so let's bring on all of our guests so we can jump right in because we only have about 45 minutes to get through this discussion.
All right.
My next guest is a great friend of mine. He and I have been best friends for a long period of time. When I moved up here to the DMV area, this was one of the first people that I met, and we worked together for years. So I want to bring on my homeboy, Jamel McCauley. What up, Jamel?
How are you, sir?
Man, I'm great. How are you, brother?
I'm doing well, man. It's an honor and privilege to be here with you tonight.
I'm glad you're here, bro. Are you ready for tonight?
I'm ready.
All right, let's keep this moving. The next young lady I want to bring on is a great friend that I have had the privilege to work with, and she's moved on and doing great things, but she still is always keeping in touch with me, and I keep in touch with her and her dog. So that's meaning that a puppy, y'all, nothing disrespectful. Jasmine, come on in the house. What up, Jazz?
Hey, how are you? Thanks for shouting out Billy. He loves it.
Right. Are you ready for tonight?
Always.
All right, let's keep this thing moving. The next brother I want to bring on is a great friend of mine. This brother says little, but when he opens up his mouth, he always drops some knowledge. You guys are going to enjoy him tonight, and I want to bring on Mr. Mikhail LaRoche.
Good afternoon, good evening to those across the United States of America. I hope we have a great discussion.
All right. So where are you from, Brother LaRoche?
I'm actually from Trinidad.
All right, y'all. So our ladies, we got a Trinidadian in the house tonight. So let's get ready to have this discussion. All right. I have to bring on this young lady, and she is so dynamic. You must follow her on Twitter. She keeps it real. She says what many of us are thinking. I have to shout her out, and thank you so much for being on the show again. Miss Adina, come on in the room.
Hello.
What's up, D?
Hey.
Are you ready to join this party?
I am. I am. Thanks for having me again.
All right, all right, all right. Yo, my line brother said, LB, I see you, Trey. Thank you so much for tuning in, my brother. All right, I have to bring on this last guest. Last but not least, this young man is unfiltered as well. I've been knowing this brother for over 21 years, and we are still friends. I don't know how, but hey, it is what it is. Without further ado, come on in the house, Reggie. What up, Romaine?
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Wonderful.
Awesome.
All right, y'all ready?
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, y'all. So we're gonna take a breath because we're gonna be doing a lot of talking, and I want to make sure that we get through every single thing tonight. So without further ado, this is the quickest I've ever started this show. But I want to make sure that we are not rushed and that we are able to hit some hot topics and make sure that everyone will be able to take something away from this. So without further ado, let's get this show on the road. Cause it's love and happiness. Hey. All right, y'all. So the first question that I want to ask Jamil and Shaditra. The question that I want to ask is because sometimes we get involved in things and we really don't necessarily know what we're really getting involved in. And so we sometimes don't know how to identify things. So let's make it very plain and simple for our listening audience tonight. What is your definition of relationships? Starting with Shaditra.
Relationships can be in different forms. We have our intimate relationships. You have your social relationships that can transpire with acquaintances or coworkers, and you also have platonic friendships where you can have a semi-intimate relationship with the person, but it's not sexual. So those are, just some ideas of what relationships can be. And they're defined. They're defined by you and that person. It just depends on the connection that you have with that person.
Okay. Simple. I love it. Simple, but to the point. Jamil, talk to me, brother. What is your definition of a relationship?
I'm going to speak on this topic from the perspective of a married man.
Shout out to you, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I believe that all relationships have a starting point. Some of them may start from a physical attraction. Some may start from a mental connection, and you have an emotional connection or a spiritual connection. But I think that in order to have a long-lasting and healthy relationship, you have to work at those things, and you have to work at them at a high level. And I think I say at a high level because you're going to have high-level problems. And I'm like a big sports guy. And I believe that, in order to make it to the NBA, in order to make it to the NFL, you have to play the game at a high level. And I believe that the same applies to marriage and relationships. You have to work at them and you have to perform and go at it at a high level.
Okay. High level, y'all. So if you hadn't heard it, relationships are what they are, basic. So can our listening audience chime in the chat, like blow the chat up? Let us know what is your definition of a relationship. Anyone else want to jump in right quick? Y'all quiet tonight. We got to get this up. We got to get this together. All right. So let me go to Adina. What are your thoughts and perceptions of toxic relationships?
Whew, where do I begin? Toxic relationships. I believe that's when you just don't have a grasp on who you are. So you allow that person to lead you through whatever in the name of love, whether it's with a friend or if that's with a lover. You just kind of go with the flow, knowing that could potentially hurt you. But again, you just don't have that self-esteem to move on to something that is better for your spirit and for your heart.
Okay, so let me jump to Mikhail. What's your definition or thoughts of toxic relationships?
Toxicity is not necessarily something that has, for me, a one or a single discipline. Toxicity comes from multiple avenues and multiple formats of relationships. So, of course, your professional relationships, your intimate relationships, your platonic relationships, your friends. In all of those facets, they can exude some form of toxicity. It's a matter of identifying what that toxicity is, and I think that only comes from both parties, because what is toxic for one person may actually be perfect for another. So there is no necessary blueprint as to what toxicity actually is, because some people can accept a selfish person, or some people are open to other formats of toxicity that may not be or may not work for another. So I think it's a very wide paintbrush topic.
I love that analogy, a wide paintbrush topic. But can we jump into some of these comments right quick? LaVarn said, which is my line brother Trey, what's up, bro? Toxic relationships damage you, and it takes away from your quality of life. Can somebody jump into that comment real quick, please? Shaditra, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it definitely can. It will disturb your peace. If you can't function because you're in a toxic relationship and you haven't even identified that, you're definitely going down a rabbit hole. But once you start realizing how it's affecting your eating, your sleeping, relationships with other people, then you start saying, well, what is really going on? And you start stepping back to look at that picture that you're painting with that wide brush of those different toxic things that are coming into your life. And you start identifying the triggers. I hope you are. And then you start eliminating them. If it's someone that you really care about, hopefully you can have a conversation with that person, identify with them those triggers, and see, how things can change. But if you don't see any change, then it's up to you to move.
Got you. Thank you so much for sharing. There's a comment also by Shannon that I want to post real quick. Shannon says toxic relationships happen when people bring in past traumas without dealing with them first. I think that is very critical and key, because we all have gone through something. And if we don't deal with those traumas, it's kind of like that song by Erykah Badu, Bag Lady. We got to stop taking bags from one relationship to another. And it's not just intimate relationships, it's friendships. It's all type of relationships. So I think that was very good, Shannon. Thank you so much for sharing that. There was another comment that I saw that came in from Justin. Justin says the definition of a relationship is something that is built on trust and communication. You have to work at them in order for them to work. Great dynamic point, Justin. We got to learn how to deal with those things. All right. And this goes into our next question. And the next question that I kind of wanted to really focus on, because in order for us to teach and educate our listening audience, we have to understand when it's time to move and when it's time to grow. Why do we stay stuck in the rut? Why do we stay in those situations? So the next question is complacency. That's a big word, and that has a lot of meaning. Complacency. Why do we stay in those situations? Do we stay in those situations because it's the way of the land? Do we stay in those situations because I know what this person is going to say? Tell me some more, Jasmine. Why do we stay in complacent situations?
So I think there are a lot of reasons why people stay in complacent situations. And like we talked about, there are different types of relationships that can give you that complacent situation. So I think one reason is people get comfortable with that person. They get comfortable with those actions. They start thinking, oh, it's normal. It's okay. They get used to it, even though it's not what they want or it's not what they need. Also, they may understand that if they're the person that is potentially preventing those toxic things, that this person may be the only person who's going to put up with it. Fear of starting over, especially people who are, older. Fear of starting over and having to go look for someone else and begin again. That fear of not meeting those life benchmarks, that pressure from your family, somebody, or maintaining oh, when you're gonna have a baby, when you're gonna do this. Potentially that self-doubt. At times people hold on to situations where they feel like they don't deserve better than that situation.
Right. That is. Thank you. Because there was a comment that Miss Davis said. She said that we get comfortable, and that goes back to what you just said. Like it's easier to know what the predictable behavior is going to be versus stepping out and doing something else. Talk to us, Reggie. Why do we stay in those situations?
I mean, I definitely agree with what was stated before, but I also feel like we're so afraid of being judged by our peers, or maybe what we see on social media that lets us know or is now our new guideline. And I think that what we need to do is stop. We need to be worried about ourselves and stop being worried about how everybody else is viewed and seen or sees us. But I believe that, just for the most of the part that I understand is that, and even for my own experience, is that it's just the unknown. It's you don't want the stigma, you don't want to hear the negative comments, but also still with that, going out here on your own to be in a relationship or to find a relationship is hard to do because you have to start from scratch. And and out here now, the dating game is not the way it used to be back in the day.
All right, Jasmine, I'm going to circle back to a comment that was posted in the chat. Yo, the chat is blowing up. Thank you all so much for dropping your knowledge and giving us information as well. T.E. Edwards said, or they stay for the image or to satisfy others. Can you give us more thoughts on that, Jasmine? Or Reggie?
I think that Reggie just kind of hinted to that, like social media and looking at snapshots of other people's lives.
Right.
What everybody wants at this moment. Like everyone is looking at a snapshot of someone's life. You never know what that person did to get there or what's going on behind the scenes, but there's so much going on social media that everybody just wants to satisfy everybody else. Everybody wants to look like they had this beautiful relationship. Nobody wants to go through a breakup. Nobody wants to go through a divorce. They don't want that negative perception of them being taken in by other people. They just want everyone to think that life is just perfect because that's all they see is this just one screenshot or snapshot of someone else's life. So I definitely think Reggie hit that on the head. Like we see these small moments, we see the big pictures behind them or how they got to these small moments, and we just think, oh, if we're not here, then something must be wrong with me, or I'm going to stay in this situation just to, present this picture so I can look like whatever I saw over here. So I definitely think that's a lot of.
That's good. No, that's good because I think sometimes we look at Instagram and we look at Facebook and we see the image, but what we don't realize is that that's an image, right? Once that snapshot or once that picture go away, like what is really going on in the background? And sometimes we post pictures of what we want people to think that's actually going on, but in reality, it's totally different. Oh, okay. All right, y'all. Y'all dropping some knowledge. I'm with it. All right, y'all. So let's jump into my next question, yo. Does expectations. So let's talk about expectations. Healthy relationships sometimes means that we always talk about expectations. What am I expecting from somebody? What is someone expecting from us? Are those expectations logical? And do your expectations make sense or have logic in your relationships? And what I mean, whether it's your friendship, whether it's your work relationship, whether it's your intimate relationship, like what does expectations look like to you? And is it logical to have these expectations? Now, let me just drop a little pin here. How many of us watched that movie? Was it Boomerang? Yes, it was Boomerang, right? When Marcus Darling was Eddie Murphy said that he had to have this picture perfect woman. And in that picture perfect person, they had to have good feet, nice face, clean teeth, the Coke bottle. Is that a realistic expectation, or even does that even have logic? So I want to jump into that question with Shaditra. To start with this question, do your expectations make sense or have logic?
Well, your expectations are yours on your own. When it comes to expectations, one thing I've learned is that they'll get you in trouble, especially if you have not spoken to the person about them. And I'm speaking about this in a relationship. Even in a friendship, you have to teach people how to treat you, but your expectations and putting them on someone is something different. So you need to work on that relationship, that communication with the person, but putting your expectations on someone is definitely leading you down a road of disaster. So you need to be mindful of that. But going back to what you just said about the boomerang, that's more of someone's preference of what they want that person to look like.
Right.
In reality, everyone has a preference. But are they going to find that? Is it going to be fulfilled? That's where everyone gets lost. And so we have to then start saying to ourselves, what really matters? You have to start digging within yourself, because we start putting these preferences out there because we're also following social media, what other people's images are, and you grab towards those. So you then have to say to yourself, am I what this person would be looking for? Because of course everyone wants this fine looking person, but whatever it may be, but you also have to say within yourself and be confident to say, I'm just as good as that person. So definitely when it comes to expectations, those are yours. But if you plan on trying to put them on someone, you need to be vocal with that person about your expectations for that person. And then when it comes to preferences, you have to be mindful about that as well.
All right, I want to spin it around a little bit. Reggie, what are some logical expectations that we should have in relationships? Not the prehistoric expectations. You go cook, you go clean. When I come home, I better have dinner on the table. But what are some healthy, logical expectations that I want Mikhail to jump in as well? What are some logical expectations that we should have in our relationships?
I think before you even start there, before you even go there, you have to know what your personal values are within yourself and what you're willing to compromise and not willing to compromise first. Then you have to be willing to communicate to that person what you want, how you feel, and how things affect you. Because at the end of the day, I feel as though we don't like to communicate because we're so afraid of what the next person will think or view us. And then we assume that because of how our parents brought us up or what we've seen on social media, the other person should treat us that particular way. But again, I think it all, just like Sadidra said, it all boils down to communication. If you cannot communicate what you want, nobody's going to understand or know why you expect this or why you want this and the logic behind why you want that. So that's my feeling on view about it.
Thank you, Jasmine. Can you drop communication in the chat? Communication is key, because sometimes that next person don't know what we're thinking, don't know what we're talking about, don't know what we're feeling. Mikhail, I don't want to take away from you, sir. Chime on in, brother.
So realistic expectations. Of course, communication should be one of those pillars that you'd want to build a healthy house on, because I consider a relationship in all formats, like I said, professional, intimate, platonic, they're all the building blocks for, you're building a house. With a weak foundation, it's probably going to fall apart at some point in time. Things may seem like it's sturdy, but the slightest wind throw things apart. So some of those foundation blocks for me, as it's relative to expectations with any type of relationship, I would say it's communication, as has been reiterated over and over and over. Respect. So in whatever format it may be, some people demand or expect respect in different formats. But the third one I would put out there is trust. It's no relationship is going to flourish if you don't have some form of trust, and it may not be what you expect, like a trust fall, or I want this person to have my well-being and everything considered. Sometimes it's as simple, like I said, as and I would use work as a perfect example. When you ask someone to do something, which is the communication part, and you ask them in a respectful manner, so you know how to communicate, then it's enabling them or giving them the space to be able to do what this expectation actually is. So if your job title is to be, a project lead or whatever it is, those three things allow for growth within the relationship or the professional relationship that exists. And a lot of people
Wow.
cue in some of those things, like they don't know how to ask for something,
Right.
or they don't allow you, so they start to micromanage, or they're always hounding over you like a ghost. So
Right.
I
Right.
think some of those, or those three foundation things, along with many other things that you can add in there, that's just off the top of my head in terms of expectations. Those three things help, and there are many others. I'm sure the chat would start adding in some other foundation type scenarios that will help build a very strong or stable relationship house.
Right. Adina, I gotta come to you real quick, sweetheart. If you could identify one of these attributes or any other, what would you say that is important and key?
As far as what your expectations are,
Yes. Yes.
I think logically, I think everyone pretty much covered it. I would add compassion to that, or empathy. But as long as there's trust and communication, I think you're on the right path. Other factors play into that would determine if it's going to be successful or not. But if you have the combination of those things, I think you're on the right path.
So what happened when we don't have that empathy? And that's a part of the toxic piece as well. What happens when there is no empathy? There is no value. There is no trust. There is no communication. Anyone can answer this question. Like, what does that look like?
Then there's no relationship. Why would you be with someone you don't trust? That's where
Right.
you become connected with the person, because you're able to trust them. You're able to go to them when you're vulnerable, or even just when you're excited about something. You want to be able to share with that person. But if you can't even trust them, what's the point of even being around that person, let alone calling that person your friend?
Yeah.
Okay. And you know what? But what if I'm complacent?
So
But
it first started off, you were in a good, healthy relationship. Well, you were getting to know one another. And
Right.
then, as time went on, you got comfortable with each other. And then one person just started just falling back, not going through the day to day. That's when that's when that communication comes in. You need to speak to that person. You need to talk with them. And that could be, as Michael was talking about, relationships, when it comes to intimacy, platonic ones, or just regular friendships, you have to challenge that person. That's like, I just put a post out the other day saying, let's, make it normal that if you're going to another level, not everyone can go with you. It doesn't mean that relationship
Right.
valued anymore. They're just not able to go with you to the next level. And so if you want that person to go with you, you sit down and you have that conversation, see where they are. They might be going through something. So that then circles back around to empathy and saying, okay, they might be going through something. Let me be that friend and extend my hand to try to help them with some resources, or, just give them some words of encouragement, some comfort.
Right.
But if from there, nothing comes out of that, then you have to start saying to that person, they have to then want it for themselves. And you have to say, I've brought you this far, or we've come this far, but I think now you need to seek some other type of help, because I can't do anything else for you, anything anymore, because of the way the relationship is designed.
That's
and we
good.
have to be okay with that.
Right. That's good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Justin Leach says, no trust plus no communication plus no empathy equals a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
We find ourselves sometimes in a relationship that we know that we shouldn't be in, right? And we know that we can't trust that person, but we like what we see physically. Then we don't have no communication until we want to hang out with them, or we want to spend that late night with them. Then we send that text message, yo, what's up, babe? What you doing? Da 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 da. And then it equals to no empathy, because I'm only doing it to fulfill my need.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, that's all of that is going to explode into a major disaster. Thank you so much, Justin, for dropping it in the chat. There's another comment from Miss Debbie. Miss Debbie said it is important to be with someone you are physically attracted to, because this is the person that you see. I think she meant to say see. Who agrees with that comment? It is important to be with someone that you are physically attracted to, because this is what the person sees.
I think agree.
Was it a statement of who agrees with it?
No. I said, what do you think about that statement?
Okay. I think it's with me, and I'm a liberal, so there's a balance across the floor, because physical attraction eventually, and I used to say this all the time, it's going to wear out. It's like, like life. The
Right.
nice pretty breasts and the firm tush is eventually going to turn into and if you can't see a person and I'm not saying that you have to be a sapiosexual, you have to see a person beyond these actual physical attributes. Of course, you're physically attracted to them, but I think when you are actually thinking about an intimate relationship, it's a lot more. There's a much deeper dive than you have to take, because once the surface level things, and the perfect example of that is I've seen people love their significant others through accidents. You go through fire or what you call it, a horrific car accident, and this person is scarred, face scarred, or they have a what you call that, when one half of the face, what is that?
Disfigured.
Yeah, they become disfigured, and they love them still. Like, I have a
Right.
good friend in his 30s, and his wife, when she was pregnant, I can't remember the name of the it's a Bell's palsy. No, that's what it is. Yeah, Bell's palsy. And once, and you have to love a person, and when you
Right.
really love a person, or you're beyond the actual physical, you're gonna see that person through these. It's a hard time, and
Right. Right.
physically to them, but they're not
Right.
going to be the exact same person from 30 or 29, 26, all
Right.
the way
Right. Right.
to
Right.
89. Like,
Right. That's good. That's good. Let's get a married perspective. Jamil, you've been married for a while. How important is physical attraction?
For me, I believe it's sort of like what the guy was saying. As you get older, things don't look the same. You're not going to always look the same when you're 60. You're not going to look like you were when you were 20. So you have to learn to
Right.
look beyond the physical attraction.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Thank you. Go ahead, Dina.
Go ahead, Dina.
I'm not. Oh.
No, I'm piggybacking off of that. I do agree. You have to be attracted to the person, but of course, as and that's how it first starts. You're looking through the eyes of somebody, and you see them. But then as you get to know them, you might meet someone and they fine as all get out. But once you start talking to them, you have nothing in common with that person. And then you're like, damn, I'm stuck with this person. So, okay, what am I supposed to do? Then that's when the complacency comes into place. And don't put sex in there. Then you really screwed up. So it's like you really got to, there's so many different compartments you have to start
Right.
and you have to look at. But, being a woman of a certain age, you learn that through those lessons of life's journey, and, having conversations with your other girlfriends, even your guy friends. But, physical attraction is something you look for. But as you get older, you start seeing that it's not everything.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank y'all so much for jumping in. All right. So this next question is going to be catered to Jamil, Shaditra, Adina, and Jasmine. This question is so important to me because I think sometimes we become closed-minded, that we forget what is important and what is the importance of being open-minded, right? And so what I mean by that is, if we are closed-minded, we see things one way.
Mm-hmm.
And as all of you all have stated earlier, as time change, we change.
Mm-hmm.
The looks that I had at 18, I'm getting bald at the top of my head. So I'm changing, right? So why is it important for us to be open-minded? And I always am respectful. So I'm going to start with the ladies first. Jasmine, can you answer this question? Why is it important for us to be open-minded?
Definitely. I think being open-minded definitely promotes like healthier relationships, because it allows you to see things from varying perspectives. You don't just see things from one way. It allows you to step out of your comfort zone, try things, have conversations,
Right.
opportunities to like develop and grow not only you as a person, but understand your partner or whoever you're trying to get to know a little deeper, because you're thinking about like, what do they like? What do they want?
Right.
I just think it also can show your effort to compromise and just like stamp the importance of that relationship. Because if they know that these are not things that you are like, this is not a part of your normal routine and you're going out of your way to try
Right.
that makes them be like, oh, okay, they really do care about me, or they really do like me. Okay, they're stepping out of their comfort zone. I must really be important to them.
Right. That's good. Jamil, chime in. Why is it important to have an open mind in a healthy relationship?
I think Jasmine said it well. It gives you the opportunity to grow and grow together, learn, and just have another perspective on life and things in general. I think that when you don't have an open mind, then you're closing yourself off to a lot of opportunities for growth and development. So I think you have to have an open mind. Otherwise, things may not last long.
Adina, talk to us, sweetheart. Why is it important to have an open mind in any type of relationship?
I think one thing you have to consider is that we aren't from the same background, from the same religion, from the same experiences. So if you go into a situation closed-minded, you're not really allowing yourself to understand why the person behaves like they do, why they started like they are, maybe why they're overly eager to please that person. So I think it's important in order for your relationship to grow to be open-minded as to why they react or don't react to certain situations that may come about in your situation, whether it's a friendship or relationship.
Good. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Y'all are giving us some great tools for thought. Thank you again to our listening audience. You guys are really chiming in the chat box. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Please continue to like and share this broadcast. All right. So let's just keep this thing moving. Another question that I also want to talk about is the importance of value. We talked about expectations being some of the basic attributes. Value was one that we talked about. Why is it important to value that other person in a relationship? I think sometimes people get in the relationship and they don't think about themselves and they begin to devalue that next person. And it cannot be, and sometimes it's not not on purpose, right? Sometimes we get caught up in our own stuff, our own baggage, and we forget to value others in your relationship. So why is it important for us to value others in relationships? Starting this with Mikhail, then Jasmine.
Thought you were going ladies before gentlemen.
Jasmine, then Mikhail. There we go. Thank you for keeping me in order, brother.
Thank you. So I think it's essential to value others when you're in any type of relationship, just because if they aren't of value to you or some type of significance, what are you there for? Valuing them and like deeply caring for them, it allows you to make those thoughtful decisions, allows you to be empathetic, allows you to be vulnerable. It allows you to think critically, like about future plans or decisions or desires, but not only of yourself. It allows you to think of that other person. So there's their value. You're not just thinking solely of you. You're thinking about like, how can they come along for this journey? Or where might their place be in my life? Or what might they want to do with their lives? It's not just one-sided, because you want to think about the whole situation as a whole. You want them there with you.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is sometimes it's just good to check in with your friend or with your relationship to see how they're thinking and processing things.
Definitely. Like everybody said, that communication is key. Like communication is key. That like, if I want you here, I'm going to want you here. Like I'm going to do things that show you that I want you here, and valuing you and caring about what you want in your future or what you want, what your next steps look like alongside mine, lets you know that you're important and I want you to be here. If you don't value them or you don't show them, if they have no significance to you, like what's the purpose? You're wasting their time, but you're also wasting your time.
Gotcha.
Their time.
Right. That's good. LaRoche.
So the value proposition is really centered around, I guess, understanding that, no individual, like it takes two hands to clap. If you're going to say that you're in a relationship, unless you're Maya and you're married to yourself, when you're interacting with other people, the easiest way to, I guess, fall to the wayside is to show a lack thereof of appreciation for who that person is. And it's very simple things, but I would say that the importance of that value system, it binds, it's like the glue for your relationship. So you have, I was talking about the concept of building a house, not necessarily Gorilla Glue, as we call it, but, the building blocks that, the concrete and cement and the thing, these are some of the things that really come in and protect your house. Like being able to look at your significant other, look at your coworker. There are many, and I'm always going to go towards the professional side of things because a lot of people think of relationships solely as, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, but the professional side of things, how often do we feel like we're underappreciated or unappreciated because your managers did not take time to actually voice or praise you for doing something that maybe minuscule, but it was value added to the actual goal. And of course, we spoke about communication. You're going to communicate a goal, and you're going to have that common goal in mind. In the in your interpersonal relationships, you're gonna have a common goal. You'd be like, even with your friends, let's make money.
Right.
We wanna invest in the stock market. Things are going good in Bitcoin. That's communication. And if your boy tips you off and say, "Hey, I want to buy Ethereum because right now it's going up," you might, the fact that you hit him back and say thanks, that's value. That's
right.
He'll hit you up again when he hears something else going up. Those small things, they're the binding force. That's the importance. It really glues and solidifies your relationship. So showing that value and showing that appreciation, it has lifelong effect. So I don't think anybody should kind of fall off of being able to show value no matter what the circumstances.
I love that analogy, y'all. It takes two hands to clap. You will see that on the post coming up soon, Mikhail. I love that. All right, so let's jump into like emotions, right? We talked about values. We talked about consistency. We talked about communication. We talked about it. We also shared how it is important to understand that we got to get beyond our physical attractions. And physical attraction can also be work related. We got to stop looking at the physical attractions of the money, but also look at the attraction of what you can bring to your prospective employer and what your employer can bring back to you, which goes back to what was just stated about values. So let's talk about the emotional piece, because I think sometimes the emotional roller coaster can be a doozy, right? Emotions can go from one end of the spectrum to the next. Adina, can you really explain to us like why it's so important to have empathy and understanding in any type of relationship, not just intimacy, but friendships, work related, professionals, all of that?
I think it kind of plays back into being open-minded, just because, again, everyone is not coming into these relationships from the same place mentally or emotionally. If you have someone who's been hurt a lot in past relationships, you're going to have some sort of empathy with them for you to understand them, why they are behaving like they are, and how you yourself can help them get past that barrier of being not vulnerable or being hurt, or understanding that you are in the situation together. I think a problem comes when you are dealing with someone who's very emotional in a hot way to someone who's very cold. So if you can't around to be empathetic with each other, it just doesn't really work, and it causes more issues as far as with communication, with the relationship in general. So it's just it plays, I think, a very major part in understand each other. So,
I love that.
Yeah,
that's good. Reggie.
All right, so I'm gonna talk about myself. So for me, whatever. So for me, this is still a work in progress. Like being, the whole emotional roller coaster, empathy, being able to be open and communicate. Like I have to be honest. Like the way I was raised, you know, I was raised as a young Black man. Don't show your emotions. Emotions are weak, you know, blah, 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 blah. And so with that being said, as I'm now 40 years old, I'm still in the process of learning to be able to put my walls down when I meet people. But then also with that being said, if I'm not getting the emotional support or the empathy that I am providing to you, why do I stick around? Why do I continue to be within your circle? So sometimes sometimes I have to look within myself and say, do we hold some type of emotional tie to why I don't want to communicate with you, or why is it that I do want to communicate with you, but you're not giving me the response that I want? And I'll always go back to the same. It's all about communication. Why is it that I cannot communicate with you? And I don't know. For me, I want somebody who I can grow with, either within a relationship or with friendship wise. Like, if we can't grow, then, you know, as Sadisha said a while ago, you can't go with me. You know, everybody wants to go with you, but you can't take everybody with you. And sometimes you have to understand, even within friendships or relationships, you may like that person, but they can't go with you, and you may need to explain that to them, or sometimes you don't have to explain it, because you already know that regardless of what you say, they're not going to hear what you're saying.
Thank you so much, Reggie, for sharing that. That is good. And to our listening audience, if you don't hear anything, understand this. You have to know when to stop the action, right? You have to know that sometimes where you are trying to go, the people that you was hanging out with in college, the people that you was hanging out with last year, they may not be in your path of going up. So I love that. You have to know when to grow. You have to know when to go. Because sometimes when you go, those people can't go with you. So thank you both for sharing this. All right, I'm going to jump into this question right here. So in preparing this, you know, I was watching a movie over the weekend. Why did I get married? And the question that I always wondered, and I'm looking at you, Jasmine, because you are going to go first. And it's all about this one little scenario, and it's called the 80-20 rule. Miss Jasmine, if you can post that up in the chat, as well as what it says about the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule says that in relationships, personal, work, friendships, etc., you're only going to get 80% of what you expect from that other person. The 20% is that you're going to have to figure it out and get it yourself. What are your thoughts, Miss Jasmine, on the 80-20 rule?
So I think it's totally fine to have like your set of 80 non-negotiable factors. But I believe that if a person is for you and you desire something, that the effort that they put in or their attempts to provide that 20% whatever factor should be evident, and vice versa. If you feel like their 20% is something that you're not used to, like, you need to put in an effort to be that 20%. Because like the clip you sent, you can go out here and you have 80 at home, but somebody you see on the street has that 20 that you want, and you willing to risk it all for your 20 and leave the 80. So it's no one no one person is perfect. Effort, value, and compromising can help that 80 turn into 100. You can feel like completely fulfilled. Like, if I know I'm your 80, but I'm working my butt off to still be this 20. Like, I'm at home almost being 100. Like, for a 20.
Jamil, tell us what you think, brother.
Yeah, so I think you really can't put a number on it. I think 80-20 for some people, it may be 60-40, some people 75-25, and then for some people it may be 99 and 1. But I think that you really need to focus on, like Jasmine said, you have to compromise, you have to sacrifice. And it's just about how much are you willing to compromise, and how much are you willing to sacrifice? How much work are you willing to put in? And this is when it comes to any relationship, you know, whether it be a friendship or a marriage or someone that you're dating. You know, it's really a matter of how much work you're willing to put in to make up for the 20% or the 1% or whatever you're not getting.
I love that. I love that. Shaditra, Mikhail, I'm going to ask y'all a question, and it won't on this. It won't on. It won't. It was not on what I emailed.
Oh gosh.
Let's talk about this because this is good, y'all. That 20%. Let's just say it's 20, whatever the case may be. Many times in relationships, you want that 20% more than that 80%.
Mm.
And that 20% could be 80% could be I got that banging job. As Mikhail says, let's take it professional first. I got that nice job, I got the benefits, I got this. But that 20%, for example, can be I could get a job with less benefits, but I have my freedom to work when I want to work. So let's talk about it from that perspective, in a work perspective. But let's also talk about it in friendships and in relationships. Sometimes people look at that 20% more than what they look at that 80%. And why do you think that is?
What I would say it's a balance. You have to learn how to balance and then you look at what you value more.
Right.
So even when you talked about work, I'll speak on that because I'm kind of feeling that way now. It's what fuels my soul, what makes me feel good. And if I'm not feeling good, then I don't have a need to be there. And I think I've gotten to a point in my life where I can say, that's not going to work for me. And I'm going to, fulfill and really, really aim towards that 20 and convert that into the 80 and then continue to keep moving it to the 100 because I know my value. I know what speaks to my soul. So if it's not fulfilling me, then it's not going to work for me. So when it comes to relationships, it would be the same way. If it's not, not to be selfish, but if it's not filling me and it's making me feel toxic, if triggers are flying left and right, then that's not going to work for me. I don't care who it is.
Love it. Thank you so much. LaRoche.
So I think this concept of 80-20 is it's a very fun concept when you kind of break it down. Because I have this thing in my head about relationships, especially when it comes down to the interpersonal, because so you took on the professional side. With men, I'll take the intimate side. With men, we usually start up up here, we start up here, and we plummet downwards, right? And women tend to start somewhere down here, and they usually are climbing. And the perfect sweet spot is when those two things, when you find that, X, where it's crossing paths. And that's usually where the 80-20 lives. When things start to dwindle into the 70-30s and the 60-40s and start to go towards opposite ends of the spectrum, that's when relationships take on the most challenges. So if you can find a person at those sweet spots, and my best friend always told me this, it's like, a relationship isn't about how much you like a person. It's about how much you're willing to tolerate. And I didn't understand it when he said it because we were in college at the time. He's like, nah, you could like, a million people. Like, you like a million people. But when you start talking about love and really loving a person, it's usually around that point where you can accept them for their flaws. Where you can see beyond, so where you can see at 20% and accept it. So with one person, you might be like, oh, she was nasty. Like, she didn't wash this, or she was lazy, blah, blah, blah. And then you might the person who came right behind her, and the same girl was like, what do you mean by you married her and y'all have dishes anywhere right now, and y'all are this, I'm the same person that she was. You really had to, you accepted this person's flaws much more than you accepted the flaws of another person, because you put so much other things into that, into that scenario. So when those lines on the chart cross is usually when you find that sweet spot for your relationship. And I feel like a lot of people miss it because guys come in hot. They'll be like, yo, girl, what's your name? No. Yo, she bad. She banging. And then they just start going downhill. And then girls be like, well, he's all right. It's like, oh, he was cute, and then they start growing and growing and growing and growing until they find that sweet spot. So if you can find that plateau and balance it every day, not go too far south of it and not go too far north of it, because then you start getting obsessive and you start going to other things. When you can find that balance is when the 80-20 rule flourishes.
I love that. And thank you so much. Thank you so much. Panel, we got through a lot of questions within 45 minutes. And I truly appreciate each and every one of you all coming in on a Sunday night to tell us when it's time for us to love them or leave them alone. And I love this comment as well. It says, people come into our lives for one or three reasons: a season or a lifetime. No, for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. We have to figure out where they fit in. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a great point to close out by just telling the people, before you all leave out, what would you say to someone if someone was to call you right now and say, hey, I got a situation going on, I need some help? What would be your final thoughts that you would share with them? And I'm going to start with the ladies first, with Jasmine, Adina, Shaditra, and I'm going to close it out with Reggie, Mikhail, and Jamil. What would you give your last closing points and say?
I think if someone called me right now and told me they was having a problem, I would say, like, did you think about yourself? Like, because at the end of the day, if you don't love yourself and you're not thinking about yourself, and you're putting yourself into these awkward, tragic situations without thinking about you first, you got to think about you first. Think about you. Love yourself first, and then try to go somewhere with somebody else.
And is this how they can find you, Miss Jasmine, on Instagram?
That is Jasmine and Bentley Levi in the city. Follow me and my doggy.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Next, we have Miss Adina. What would you say, sweetheart?
To be honest, because, I've had my share of toxic relationships or things I couldn't necessarily let go, I would ultimately just tell them they have to do what speaks to their soul. Like, you can give someone advice all day. You can give them the best advice, the worst advice, but ultimately they are absolutely going to do what moves them. So say, listen to yourself. You know ultimately what's best for you. So you need to go with that feeling.
Got it. And this is your IG where they can follow you?
Yes, Grace Kelly.
Please follow her. She has a lot of great dynamic information on her pages, y'all. You will not be disappointed. Miss Shaditra, what are your closing thoughts?
And I agree with Jasmine and Adina. You have to dig within yourself. I would definitely tell that person, if it's moving your peace of mind is being disturbed, let it go.
All right. Let it go, y'all. Simple. Let it go. And this is your IG, right?
That is correct.
MD6D. You should follow her as well. She has daily inspirational quotes, and I love everything that you post, Shaditra. Thank you for keeping me inspired. All right, let's go to the fellas. Mikhail, what would you say, brother?
So I'm gonna go against what everyone else said. Forget it. I'm not going to go into that, happiness is within stuff. Yeah, that's so cliche. If you're strong enough, and again, it might sound like an internal battle, but if you know that you're strong enough to deal with the trials and tribulations that any relationship is going to bring towards you, then you go forward as strong as you can be. If you come into me, then obviously you're not strong enough. But if within yourself, you can find strength to deal with, whatever it is, building on communication, building on respect, working on trust. Shoot, calling a professional actually is one of those things that I feel like a lot of people aren't going to tap into, but I am not a professional. I would say if you can build and you're willing to build, don't just let go of a toxic relationship, work on it. So that's my closing words. If you're strong enough, work on your toxic relationships. If you can identify them, work on them.
All right. I love the spin. Thank you, sir. All right. And your IG is Mikhail LaRoche. All right. Yeah, Mr. LaRoche. Who want to go next, y'all? Who want to go next? Go ahead, Reggie.
Well, you know me being me. First thing I'm gonna ask: Are you venting or are you planning? Because you know sometimes when people call, they just want to complain or just vent. So if they want to plan, then I would say to them. Secondly, I would say, what do you want to do and what's your plan? And then maybe work through their plan about what they want to do. Or if not, if they just want to vent, then I'm just going to hear what they have to say and not give an opinion because you know they just wanted to vent.
All right, and this is your IG that they can follow you on, right?
Yes, sir.
VARR. All right, Jamel, talk to me. Let's take us home, brother.
Yes, sir. So what I would tell someone is to follow your gut because a lot of times your instincts are always right. And then I would also say protect your energy. Protect who you give your energy to and who you spend it on. And always just make an informed decision.
All right. Informed decision, informed consent. Follow your gut. Don't vent. Know when to let it go. All of that great stuff. Jamel's IG. Can you tell us how we can follow you, sir?
Yes, you can follow me at Anomie Store, ANOMIE Store. Facebook is Jamel McCauley.
All right. Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. To our listening audience, I appreciate you so much for being on tonight. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate you chiming in. If you have not done so, please complete the survey. This show is designed to help everybody out. We are not in order. We are not trying to be big people. We're just trying to give you knowledge. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. This episode was solely about understanding the benefits of healthy relationships, understanding the benefits of toxic relationships, because when we know better, we're going to do what? We're going to do better. So I just want to say again, thank you so much for being on the show tonight. Again, I'm going to define love right quick, and we're going to get out of here. Love yourself. Love yourself. The L, make sure that it's logic. Does your expectations or desires make sense, or does it have logic? Logical. Remember, in love, you have to be logical. The O, be open-minded. Open-minded, y'all. Open your mind. Are you able to see things from different lenses or perspectives? The V, we got to have value in our relationships. Do you value yourself? Do you value your relationships? Do you value your job? What are your values? And lastly, but not least, the letter E, empathy. We have to be empathetic. Are you able to share and understand feelings of others and yourself? That is the L, that's the O, that's the V, that's the E, y'all. We got through it tonight. And again, thank you so much. Please be following me, and I will let you know when we'll be back on, which is going to be in about 2 weeks. So thank you for tuning in on Sunday night. You can go and watch the Housewives. You can go and watch the All-Star, whatever. But thank you again so much for tuning in. Until next time, I love you, and keep moving those mountains and breaking those barriers. Take care, y'all.